On today's episode, Blockbuster Video appears to be back. Is that true? The month of June looks incredibly packed. Which of the big movies opening up are going to win the box office at that time? What stops Hollywood studios from faking their box office numbers, maybe under-reporting them to make it look like they lost money, over-reporting them to make it look like they, were more successful than they were? And John Wick Chapter 4 is pure genre perfection. That and a whole bunch more. The John Campea Show starts right now. Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel, brought to you in part by our friends at Mint Mobile. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, TV and streaming, and all sorts of good things. I got the guys back here. I got Ray Ora, fresh off of coming back from watching John Wick. Sitting right beside him, running the show, Jonathan Boyko. Taylor Gonzalez is here. Most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here, making this show part of your day. Here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to talk about some predetermined topics at first, and then in the second part of the show, we're going to take your questions. Hey guys, listen, if you got a question for the show, you don't have to wait for the show to be live to send it in. You can send it in anytime, 24/7, at our tip link at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. If you got a thought at 2 o'clock in the morning, want to send it, go ahead and send it in, and we'll read off a whole bunch of them on the show. And if we don't get around to it on the show, we'll probably answer it in an upcoming show or in an open mic. All right, guys. With all that down, and before we get started, I've got a couple of announcements to make. I'll save one until Monday. But I do have kind of a fun announcement to make, and this won't apply to everybody, but I'm kind of excited about this. So I always encourage, my fellow film fans, that I think all film fans should have a blog or a podcast or a YouTube channel or something to just participate more in the fan community. I think more people should do that. And so, I'm always encouraging people to do that. I put up several videos about how to get started and all that kind of stuff. Well, what I've decided to do is we're going to take it one step further. So in the next couple of weeks, probably in the next week or two, I am going to be starting a test of something that I am calling the John Campea YouTube sponsorship program. And here's basically what it's going to be. I'm going to select one or two YouTube channels, smaller YouTubers that maybe just do it as for fun, as a hobby, whatever. And maybe it's somebody who has dreams of doing it full time, but it doesn't have to be that. Maybe you're somebody who started a YouTube channel and you just want to do it for fun and you want to learn some things about how to make it more fun for yourself to do it. Maybe make it a little bit better for your audience. Maybe you'd like to get some better gear or whatever. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to start the John Campea YouTube channel sponsorship program, where I'm going to pick one or two YouTube channels, and I'm going to sponsor you for $1,000 a month for 2 months. And over the course of those 2 months, myself and Robert Meyer Burnett will become sort of mentor is too formal of a term. But what we will do is we will do 4 FaceTime calls over the span of those 2 months, where we will sit down and just talk about your channel, what you're hoping to achieve, what we think maybe you could do. We'll talk about gear that you can use some of the money for. Maybe you want to buy, some new lights or a new camera or something like that. Or maybe the money will just help you have some free time to dedicate a little bit more time to your YouTube channel. Because again, I really do believe a lot that movie fans will have more fun. And by the way, the YouTube sponsorship program will not just be for movie or TV channels. You can have another type of channel. Maybe you like bikes, or maybe you like surfing, or maybe you like music, or maybe you like shoes, or maybe you like whatever it is. Whatever helps you engage in your fandom a little bit more and a little bit better, we're going to be looking to sponsoring your channel. So we'll make an announcement in the next week or two about how to apply for the YouTube sponsorship program. And then if it goes well, because maybe it'll be a disaster, but if it goes well, we hope we'll do it for a couple times a year. So anyway, yeah, I'm really excited about this. As a matter of fact, I'm really, really super excited about this. So hopefully somebody's going to be able to find this pretty useful. All right. with that now said, guys, I'm really, really excited about that. So we'll talk more about it in the coming days. With that all down, let's now get started in some topics. And we're going to shift it up a little bit here. We're going to start off today by going to our Mint Mobile hotline questions. If you guys have a question for the show and you'd like to hear your voice on our show, go ahead and call the hotline anytime, 24/7 at 951-268-4259. It's absolutely free, and maybe you'll hear your voice on our show. And our first question here goes to the whole idea about, hey, remember Blockbuster? It might be back. Check it out.
Hey, John. Jared calling from right outside of Atlanta. I was taking a quick break while at work, and I saw on my phone that somebody is using the Blockbuster.com domain, and it says, be kind while we rewind if you go to Blockbuster.com. What do you think someone is doing with the Blockbuster name? I'm hoping that they bring back the video store. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.
All right, thanks a lot for calling that in, Jared. And yeah, listen, forever, the name synonymous with home entertainment was Blockbuster. Now, from my neck of the woods, Canada, our videos, there were Blockbusters, but the other big video rental chain was Rogers Video. So for me, instead of going to Blockbuster, although Blockbuster was still kicking around a little bit when I moved to LA, there were still a couple of them. Like when I moved into Hollywood, right up the road on Sunset Boulevard, there was still a Blockbuster Video there. Not long. It closed down not long after I left. Or after I moved in, I mean. But, I mean, who among us have not spent, anybody who's over maybe 28, 29, 30 years old, don't have some memories of getting together with some buddies, let's go pick a movie, and running on down to Blockbuster, or in my case, Rogers Video, whatever, wandering up and down the halls, discovering movies and picking out, maybe Tuesdays it was $5 for $5 or something like that, and you take them home. The transition happened from VHS tapes to DVDs to Blu-ray, all that kind of stuff, right? Glorious. Of course, it died because nobody went to rent movies anymore, because digital and streaming all started to happen, and they weren't able to adapt quick enough. And, you know, there's a story out there that at one point they were in the position that they could have bought Netflix for, what was it? I want to say like $50 million or something like that they could have bought Netflix. And for whatever reason they didn't. I don't know the whole story off the top of my head.
For a short time, they tried the mail order thing too.
Yeah, they tried to then become Netflix, right? By doing the mail order, like we'll ship your DVDs right to you, the way Netflix started, right? So what he's talking about is, now if you go to Blockbuster.com, and I don't know if you've got this there, Jonathan, see if we can bring that up. If you go to Blockbuster.com and go to their website, see if you can put in that URL, Jonathan.
Oh, you actually want to?
Yeah, let's see if we can go right to the URL. Go to Blockbuster.com and see what we get up here. And they get, what do we get? We get this. Blockbuster, we are working on rewinding your movie. Now, before anybody gets too terribly excited about this, do understand that while people are just noticing this now, apparently this screen went up around Christmas time. Okay, so this new screen, we are working on rewinding your movie, actually went up around Christmas time. But also, their social media has started kicking back up again. The official Blockbuster social media started kicking back up again. So now if you bring up the news report there, a lot of people have been asking, what is going on with Blockbuster? Is Blockbuster poisoning itself to try to make a return? Because I think it was just recently, Taylor, you're a pop culture guy, but I believe it was just recently that the final Blockbuster actually closed.
Oh no, did it close?
Yeah, I believe I heard it close like just within the last few months.
Did you see that?
One, I think it was in Alaska or something, right? There was one Blockbuster.
It was like Oregon.
I think Oregon.
You're right.
And couldn't you stay there overnight or something like that? And like,
I think for a while they had turned it into an Airbnb.
Yeah, you could stay there.
Oh my God, stay in the final. And they made a documentary about it. Mm-hmm. And then there's some kind of sitcom with Randall Park. Wasn't there a sitcom with Randall Park?
Yeah,
I watched it.
I mean, I never checked that one out
I wasn't
at
sold
all.
on the trailer, but yeah.
All right. So look, it is most likely that nothing is going on with Blockbuster. Maybe just the people who still own Blockbuster, whatever, they're just having some fun. It could be. But what if they're doing something? So we go over to the classroom here for a second, and we're going to ask, what's the deal with Blockbuster? I don't do that nearly as good as Christian does. Christian does that much better than me. What is the deal with Blockbuster? What's going on? All right, I want to propose there a couple of possibilities. Possibility number one, they are reopening that Blockbuster video. Guys, hey, listen, vinyl records are back. They didn't, not very much, but God, you know, my wife, Ann, Ray, your sister, she got into this kick, I think because of Kevin. She got into this kick. So you go, oh, I'm going to buy a record player. Bought a record player because Kevin had a record player, right? So I want to go buy a record player. I'm like, baby, you're not going to buy any records. Oh, I'm going to buy so many records. I'm going to buy so many. I got a couple of friends that did that. I'm going to buy so many records. All right. So she bought a record player and bought a U2 album and go, I'm going to buy all these record players. Right to this day, we're now 2.5 years in. That record player is still closed, sitting in the corner of her office. Not a single new album has been bought. Anyway, I don't know why I went off on that tangent.
That's how you do it.
That's how you do it. I don't know why I went off on that tangent, but retro media making a comeback. And because listen, they saw how successful that little Blockbuster documentary was. They saw how many people were interested in that and how many people online lament and yearn for the old days of going to the store and walking up and down the aisle. Do you know how many relationships ended because a boyfriend and a girlfriend could not decide on what movie to get? Terrible. One of the most popular posts I ever put up on the movieblog.com when I was there was how to select a movie at Rogers Video or Blockbuster with your significant other.
You just say yes.
And we still, Ann and I still practice this when we're trying to pick a movie to stream. We take turns. One night, here's the answer. I'm giving you sharp relationship advice here, gentlemen. Sharp relationship advice between you and your significant other. And here's the advice. And this is sage advice.
I like sage.
You take turns, not picking movies, but you take turns, and here's your profile. Let's say, Taylor, you and David, let's say you're sitting at home trying to pick something on streaming, or you go to a Blockbuster. Here's what you do. You take turns where on one night, the first night, you get to select 3 selections.
The first 3 Shreks.
Okay. You get to select 3 selections, the first 3 Shreks. But then David gets to pick of the 3.
Anything but.
Oh, he's going to pick Shrek too.
The next night, David gets to pick 3 selections, and you get to pick which one of those 3 you watch.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
It is a relationship saver. I have saved many, many relationships. Dr. John is in the house.
Or you just don't watch anything.
Or don't watch anything.
Yeah, just go on YouTube and watch this show.
That is also sage advice. All right, so option number 1, they are reopening. Let's face it, that is very unlikely. Very unlikely. Okay, option number 2, a video on demand service. Liken unto a Voodoo or something like that, right? Where Blockbuster becomes, because they kind of took a kick at this can a while ago, where they go on and they'll put all the studio movies on their service, and you can go and rent movies from blockbuster.com and watch movies streaming. So yet another VOD service. So there's that. Another option is a Pluto like service. Are you guys familiar with Pluto?
Yeah.
I've never used it, but I mean, I know what
I
it
watch
is.
Unsolved Mysteries on it. No. They have an Unsolved Mysteries channel. I leave it on right before I go to sleep.
You know what? I'm due
Doesn't sound
sometimes.
creepy at all.
They have a World Poker Tour channel on there.
They got a bunch.
And I'll
of
go
channels.
and put that on and just watch some poker on there. So basically what Pluto is like, if any of you don't know, it's a free thing. You should go check it out. There's a lot of very cool stuff on it. Pluto is like its own cable service where it's like, and their interface is great. It looks like a TV guide channel thing where they've got like 200 or 300 different channels. And there's Classics channel and this channel, World Poker Tour channel, Unsolved Mysteries channel. And it just runs 24/7, right? And maybe, these are, I think another name for these things are called fast channels, because there's a few of these popping up now. Maybe Pluto TV or Blockbuster is looking to create their own Pluto TV sort of thing, entertainment thing. Another thing, I've heard this whispered, a gaming rental service. Now, I don't know if in the waning days of Blockbuster or Rogers Video, if they ever got into game rentals, as I know some online places do for online digital. But I've heard some whispers of people speculating that with the popularity of gaming and gaming being a predominant entertainment, vector, that maybe they're looking at creating a gaming network of some sorts. I don't really buy into that either. Then there's what I believe is the most likely scenario. Nothing. It's just nothing. It's just them playing around or having some fun or whatever. But I think for me, if I had to go through this list and I found out, if I found out that they are definitely doing something, my guess would be it's a VOD kind of service. Because even AMC Theaters got into that. Did you guys know that AMC Theaters has a digital video rental?
It got big during the pandemic.
Did it get big?
Not big, but I mean, they were pushing it right on their site. Yeah.
So I think that's the most likely thing. Ray, if you look at that list, they're reopening VOD service, a Pluto-like service, a gaming rental service, or nothing. Which one do you think is most likely? Or do you think it's something else?
I think it's nothing.
Yeah, that is the most likely. But if it was one of the other ones,
or it could be something completely different from what we expect. I don't know. Maybe someone bought the actual thing and is gonna do something else with it. But out of all of them, I think it probably will be a streaming service.
Any chance they just reopen as they were, like literally a walk in and rent a physical Blu-ray disc?
You know what I would like is like it's a store that just sells all the old movie collectible stuff that people spend, just like a variety store. We used to have those a long time ago. I think Sam Goody Music, if anyone remembers that, or Warehouse Music.
Well, they got something in Burbank. Remember Blast from the Past? I think
things where like, they'll have the most popular Blu-rays, let's say. Not the whole store, because that will shut it down. No one, like you said, hard copies of anything is not selling too well, but
it's for the collectors.
Just like maybe like, just like maybe the most popular releases for that week, just a couple of them, and then like movie collectibles, statues, things like that. I think it would work. I mean, we don't have anything like that.
So they kind of would become like, you'd like to kind of become like a retail store.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what I would like to see. I don't think it's going to be that.
No. Yeah, probably not. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? There's been some movement at Blockbuster on their social media feeds, their website stuff. Do you think anything's happening? It's most likely not. But if there was, what do you think it would be? What do you think the options are? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's go back over to the hotline, shall we? And this one is writing in asking about a very packed month of June. Check it out.
Hey, John, Jared from Atlanta calling, and I just realized some really good news about the month of June at the movie theater. It is stacked. Transformers, Spider-Man, Flash, Indiana Jones. Which one do you think is going to win the box office that month?
Thanks a lot for calling that in. I think it was Jared again. I think Jared got two of his things in there today. Well done, Jared. All right.
Boarding the hotline.
We have been talking a lot about March because March has been the best month of movies in 3 years. Like this is the first month that we have had a true return to form for cinemas, having a true, full, robust release schedule for the month. I mean, over the past year or so, yeah, we've had one movie here and a movie there and a couple really, really big ones, obviously like Spider-Man or Top Gun or something like that. Absolutely. But to have a true week after week having stuff coming out in theaters that we can really look forward to has been rare. And it's been a good month. Creed. We like 69. I don't care. 69.
I don't 69 anybody, okay? Right now, let's not make
end the show there.
Okay,
what a
bye.
great Friday.
It's 65, right?
Oh, yeah.
65.
Our life is over.
Everybody we like 65 around here. 65 was good. Scream 6,
Scream 6.
Nice.
not Scream 69. Scream 6 was really good. Shazam 2. I don't care what anybody says. That was a good, fun movie.
Yep.
Shazam 2.
Shazam.
John frickin' Wick, which we will talk about a little bit later,
The
was
cherry
really
on
good.
top, baby.
Dungeons and Dragons is wonderful. It's been a great month. But it's not like it ends with March.
Nope.
We got some good stuff coming out in April, but we got some month of June coming. What's
One
that?
quick question.
What's that?
Does Dungeons and Dragons actually release to
March
the general
31st.
public in March?
Yeah, March 31st.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Does what?
So it is
Yeah,
officially a
because,
March
you know,
movie.
I just wanted to make sure we're getting her.
So it's been a fabulous month, man.
Yeah.
And it doesn't stop. We got some good stuff, like I said, coming out in April and May. But June, man.
It's gonna be hard to top this month.
But June is looking
No, I
to
think it
try
might.
it.
No, you're saying release, but movies we like too.
Yeah,
we like
that much.
everything we watch.
So let's
in
go
March.
over here. So stuff coming out in June. Okay, so we've got, as we go over to the classroom here,
Yep.
we've got, we're starting with Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
That's guaranteed right there, baby.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Hold on a second, this didn't
guaranteed.
happen. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I mean, that's coming out on June 2nd, I think. Yeah, June 2nd. All right. Then we move on to June 9th. And we got Transformers Rise of the Beasts, which I don't care when it look. The Transformers movies went to crap. Okay, I like the first Transformers movie, and I really like Bumblebee. Everything else in between, total dog crap.
Not such a
But
guarantee.
the trailer, I like the trailer for this Transformers. I think it looks pretty good. But guess what's also opening on the same day of July 9th or of June 9th? Strays, the Will Ferrell dog comedy. That looks so good. And I'm going to tell you what, I'm not even sure which one I'm going to watch first. I might go watch Strays first because that looks absolutely
I mean, I might
fantastic.
I'm not gonna see Transformers, but if I was gonna do both, I'd do Transformers and then the palate cleanser is Strays.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Then we got on June 16th, allegedly Flash.
Oh yeah.
Which, again, everything we've heard from anybody everywhere is that this thing is great. Now, opening up on the same day as The Flash is a movie we had heard about, but I totally forgot about until yesterday they played a trailer for it. The Blackening. Oh my God. This movie looks funny. It's kind of like, it strikes me as kind of like Shaun of the Dead, where it's like part legitimate horror, but part glib comedy. And it was really working for me. A bunch of black friends go to a cabin in the woods, and it looked great. What can I say? Now, it's not going to be competing, nor will Strays be competing for the top of the box office, but there you go. All right. We move on to June 23rd for a movie that I think looks fantastic, which is Joyride. I don't think we talked about the trailer for Joyride on the show, but they played it at South by Southwest. It's a mostly Asian cast. It's produced by Seth Rogen. It looks really funny, and they're going to be showing it at CinemaCon as well. So I'm really excited about that. Also coming out, remember we talked about this trailer? No Hard Feelings, the Jennifer Lawrence comedy, raunchy comedy.
Oh, right.
Oh yeah.
Listen, when I first heard about that one, I'm like, that doesn't sound very good. And then I saw the trailer was, I thought, ripped. I thought it was great. The trailer looked really, really good. So that's coming out. And then what do we got here? Oh, yeah. And then on June 30th, Indy 5. Indy 5. Look at that. Spider-Man Across Spider-Verse. Transformers Rise of the Beast, Strays, Flash, The Blackening, Joyride, No Hard Feelings, Indy 5. I'm looking forward to every single one of these freaking films. I think these all look great. So the question becomes, they asked in the when they called in is what's going to win the box office? All right, let's just go through and just take out the automatic ones that we know are not going to be competing for the box office. No Hard Feelings and Joyride and The Blackening, none of those are going to be competing for top of the box office. We know that. Strays looks like it's going to be fantastic, but we know it's not going to be fighting for the top of the box office. That leaves us with 4 films for the month of June that we're looking at. Which one of these? I mean, and these are all legitimate contenders. These are all legitimate contenders. So I'm going to give you my list, all right, about the order I think this is going to happen. Out of these 4, I think what will be the best movie, but will also make the least out of these four, in fourth spot is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Now, are we talking opening weekend?
No, we're talking overall box office.
Okay.
Overall box office, I think. And you know what? I probably would put them in the same order as opening weekend as well. Now, of course, all this will depend on how good the movies are, which we don't know yet. But from this point, I'm going to say my guess is that the best movie of this bunch, but will come in last at the box office out of these four, will be Spider-Man Across Spider-Verse. They showed us like 15 minutes of it at CinemaCon last year. I expect they're going to show us more of it at CinemaCon this year. It looks fantastic. The first Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I think it is a top 10 best comic book movie of all time, in my opinion. I love this movie deeply, 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 even though I fully admit I shit-talked the hell out of this movie for a full year up until it released because I thought the idea was stupid. And I love it. It's so good. One of the biggest pleasant surprise movies of all time. So for me at any rate, number 4 is going to be Spider-Man. Number 3 is going to be Transformers Rise of the Beasts. Look, the reality is at one point, the Transformers movies were box office juggernauts. It was $1 billion franchise. But those days are gone because they ran that franchise into the ground. And so even when they came out with a delightful Bumblebee movie, it couldn't outrun the stench of failure that was the Transformers franchise. So I'm expecting great things from this movie. You've got the director of Creed 2, which I really like Creed 2, directing the film. Capel, I think is his name. And I'm just looking forward to it, but I don't think it'll make as much as Indy or Flash. So that leaves us with Indy and Flash. And I'm going to say coming in second spot is going to be Flash. Now, I know some people are probably going, John, whoa. People went crazy for the trailers. You know, it's Michael Keaton's coming back as Batman. I know, but it's a little bit of the same thing for me that it is for Transformers Rise of the Beasts. The DC franchise is not in good shape right now, which is why they're going to be relaunching it come 2025 with Superman Legacy. But it's not just DC. Look at the last 3 comic book movies that have come out. Black Adam, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and Shazam. All of them have underperformed. All of them have underperformed. I don't know that Ant-Man and the Wasp even hit 500 million. Black Adam didn't even hit 400 million. Shazam didn't make enough to buy lunch. So not only is it the status of DC, it's also the overall thing right now of box office. Look, I think Flash is going to make a lot of money. Don't misinterpret me. Flash is going to make a lot of money. But I don't think it's going to make as much as Indiana Jones 5. Because with James Mangold, one of the best directors in the business today, the guy who directed Logan, Ford v Ferrari, and a whole ton others, directing this, the word is the studio's very happy with the film. You've seen the reaction that has been, you guys have been in the movie theaters when they've played this trailer. The reaction from the audiences have always been really positive. We're in a big nostalgia thing right now. Hell, we just went back and watched a 60-year-old Tom Cruise flying fighter jets, although he was probably like 51 at the time that they filmed it, because they filmed that movie ages ago. But still, I think Indiana Jones 5 will end up being the number 1 box office movie out of those 4. Now, again, that can completely change once we actually start seeing the movies, because we may go in and say, oh my God, Transformers is actually a competitor for Best Picture at the Academy Awards, and Indiana Jones sucks toes. All right. Well, then maybe we swap that around and maybe we change it around. But for now, this far out, my early pure guess is number 4, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Number 3, Transformers Rise of the Beast. Number 2 will be Flash. Number 1 would be Indy 5. Taylor, let me just ask you a quiz.
Yeah.
How would you order this?
I would put Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse as number 1.
Really?
Yeah, only
even
'cause-
though the first one only made like what, 300 something million dollars?
Yeah, I think the hype has just been building and
Oh,
building.
I
and
hope you're
building.
right.
Yeah.
God, that would make me happy.
My
But so
niece is-
you think it's going to make more money than Transformers, Flash, and Indy 5?
Yeah, my
Wow,
nieces are
okay.
hyped. Plus, when you look at can we get the list up again really quick? Sorry. When you look at the other ones, the Flash, DC has not been performing as well as people would
Neither
hope.
is Marvel.
Right.
Really.
Transformers, that franchise is not doing as well as we would hope. Indiana Jones, the last one, same thing. But with Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, the first one was great, and I just
Won
feel
the
like
Academy
follow-up-
Award for
yeah.
Best Animated Feature. Everybody loves it.
My nieces are obsessed with Spider-Man, with Spider-Gwen. There's a couple more movies coming out. I don't think 2 of them will be able to compete. The Boogeyman, which I'm so excited for. And then for my beloved DreamWorks, Ruby Gillman, the Teenage Kraken with Jane Fonda as
Yeah,
the
that looks
Kraken.
awful.
But there's one that I think could compete with these, and it's the same day as The Flash as of right now, June 16th, Elemental from Pixar.
That's only in limited release though.
Oh.
So I don't believe, I believe it's limited release thing right
Okay.
now. So it may move. That's why I didn't put Elemental on the list, because they're a little unclear right now about what that is. So, but yeah, I think I'm very much looking forward to Elemental as well. So
Yeah.
guys, question is for you. What do you think? June looks great. I am legitimately, I think there's like 9 films coming out in June that I am absolutely looking forward to. I don't know that they're all going to work out, but I'm absolutely excited and looking forward to all of them. What do you think about the lineup? Which one of those films do you think will end up in the top spot at the box office out of them? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to another hotline question here today. We're just filled with hotlines here at the end of the week. And this one is asking about, hey, how do we know studios don't lie about the box office numbers? Check it out.
Hi, Jeffrey Hemphill here. Do you think that The Rock had a case to be made to have Warner Brothers audited to see if the box office numbers for Black Adam have been lowered to give Warner Brothers executives bonuses at the expense of both Black Adam and Zack Snyder universe? How can we trust that a flop is really a flop and not a hit, like The Batman is a hit? Also, Avatar 2 numbers are hard to believe too. How can we trust that studios don't inflate the numbers upwards to give the appearance of a hit? Thanks, and BOTF.
And you know, this is a question that I actually have been asked a lot, and you see people asking a lot and bringing up and doubting and all that kind of stuff. Overall, it's like we hear about like box office numbers, right? Like Warner Brothers talking about how much Black Adam made, and The Rock trying to saying, oh, it's actually profitable. And you know, I remember when I actually made a little video about it when Avatar 2, right before Avatar 2 came out, and in its first week, because like the first Avatar movie, which only opened to $75 million, Avatar 2 did not have a record-breaking opening weekend, and all these outlets started running, you know, woke Avatar, crashing and burning, it's a disaster, box office failure, blah, blah, blah. But in reality, it went on to become one of the biggest films of all time, and which initially started getting a lot of people questioning that, you know, Disney's lying about the box office numbers. And Jeffrey raises a good question. Like, how do we know what is stopping? Let's say a movie studio wants it to look like a movie they put out lost tons of money for tax benefits or whatever. What's stopping them from coming out and saying, oh yeah, The Rock made no money. Black Adam, it actually made 700 million, but we're going to say it made less than 400. Or what's stopping them from saying, you know, Top Gun Maverick only made 400 million, but we're going to say it made $1.4 billion. Well, what actually stops them? Because does anybody trust big corporations? Well, you shouldn't on face value. There needs to be checks and balances in place, right? So this is a question that comes up a lot. But what I will tell you, and I did a little like one of these little short vertical videos on this a few months ago, but I think it's important information for us to touch on here. You got to understand that you can depend on the actual box office reporting. And here's why. We're going to go now. My handwriting is going to be terrible. I'm trying to write on a vertical tablet here. But here's what some people think. Some people think this. Do we have this loaded up? There we go. Some people think you have a movie, right? Here's a movie. And they think that the studio finds out. Sorry, I got a little Phil Collins on my brain. The studio finds out how much their movie made, and then the studio is the one to report. It's hard to write vertically. And this is the system here that everybody that kind of assumes that this is the system. This is how we get to this final report box, right? That we hear that the studio tells the world and reveals to the world what their movies made. And that's how we find out the box office numbers. And if that was the case, then yes, it's a completely reasonable to ask, well, how do we know they're telling the truth? How do we know they're telling the truth about the numbers they make? I don't believe for a second that Avatar 2 made whatever. What did it make? 2.2 billion, 2.3 billion? I can't remember. I don't believe for a second that made that and all that kind of stuff. I think Disney's just making it up. Okay. But that's not how it works. Because in actuality, the studios do not report the box office numbers. The box office numbers actually come from an independent third-party company called Rentrack. Now, here's basically how it goes, okay? So we go back over to my horrible chicken scratch here, and we got one movie house, we got two movie houses, we got three movie houses, we got 400,000 movie houses, okay? These are all movie theaters. So I'll put a big M in there. Movie theater, movie theater, movie theater. So what happens is movie theaters across the world, I'm oversimplifying it here. There are a few other little technicalities, but basically speaking, the movie theaters across the world, what they do is on a daily basis, every single day, they all send their financial box office ticket sales information to one company called Rentrack. All right. They independently. So there is no movie theater. There's no movie studio in between, right? Some people think the studios get it first. There's not. There's no line between. These individual movie houses and ticket sales companies, whether it's Fandango or Atom Tickets or AMC Online Tickets or whatever, they all report their numbers directly to Rentrack. And then Rentrack sends out the reports. They send reports to journalists. They send reports to the studios. They send reports to other industry companies and all that kind of stuff. Because you have to understand, these numbers are vital to the movie industry. This is where the movie industry gets all of its actual critical information from. And if anybody were to falsify that information, it would throw the entire industry into chaos. They are, in John Wick terms, Rentrack is the high table. Well, actually, the Rentrack is the marquee, whereas all the individual studios are the high table. And if any one of those members of the high table tries to mess with the system, all the other ones will take them out because that messes with the entire industry. So as we go back and look at Rentrack here again, what Rentrack will do, because that information that they have is so important, they will themselves go back and audit the movie theater reporting numbers. And they will cross-reference all the various things. It's like, how come this movie theater here is saying that, I don't know, Pooh, Blood, and Honey made $32 million when this movie house over here is saying it only made $61,000. So what Rentrack then has to do is they act like, what's the name of the girl in John Wick 3? Is she a harbinger? Oh, is that what she is?
I think so.
I can't remember what she calls. I know in part 4 they call him the harbinger. I think she's a harbinger. Anyway, so Rentrack also is kind of like sends out what's it called?
The adjudicator.
Adjudicator. So Rentrack, sticking with the John Wick chapter 4 or all John Wick mythology analogy here, they send out adjudicators to double check those numbers, to cross-reference those numbers, because it is in the movie industry's best interest to have absolute accurate information. It's vital to them. It's very important to them. So if one studio found out another studio was messing with that system and threatening the entire pipeline of data that the entire industry is based on, there would be hell to pay. There would be massive, massive hell to pay. So when asking the question, how do we know that Warner Brothers didn't underreport the box office of Black Adam? How do we know that Disney didn't over-exaggerate the numbers of Avatar 2? How do we know that Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania didn't make $500,000? How do we know the studios didn't lie? Because again, it's not the studios that report it. It is a third-party independent company known as Rentrack. Now, admittedly, I have just oversimplified it. There are more details and different layers and all that kind of stuff, but that will give you kind of a basic general idea of that. So that is why basically we can, for the most part, rely on the information we hear about box office numbers. Any of you guys have anything you want to add to any of that?
Taylor doesn't believe it. He's like,
I'm doing the math.
I'm telling you, Pooh, Blood and Honey made millions.
Pooh million.
Pooh million. The Pooh million. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about that? Have you had those thoughts before? Do you kind of believe in the system? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we're going to take a moment here to thank a couple of the sponsors of our show here today, our friends at Rocket Money and the Black Tux. Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of this video, Rocket Money. The average person has around 12 paid subscriptions. Think about that. If you think you're only subscribed to a handful of services, you might want to double check. With Rocket Money, you can quickly identify and cancel all of your unwanted subscriptions. Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill, is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Rocket Money will quickly and easily identify your subscriptions for you so you can stop paying for the ones you don't want and don't even use. Simply find the subscription you don't want and press cancel, and Rocket Money will cancel it for you. No more long hold times with customer service or tedious emailing back and forth. Rocket Money makes canceling subscriptions as easy as the click of a button. My wife Ann and I moved out of Burbank 2 years ago, and one of the first things I discovered when I loaded up Rocket Money was that I was still paying for a gym membership I haven't even been to in Burbank in 2 years. So stop throwing away your money. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/Campea. That's rocketmoney.com/Campea. rocketmoney.com/Campea. Hey guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, the Black Tux. It's time we had the talk. You know the one I'm talking about, the one that ends in the 3-letter word. I'm talking about a tux. And when you need a tux, the best place to go to get one is the Black Tux. The Black Tux makes it super easy to get an on-trend, top-quality, guaranteed to fit tux without ever needing to leave your house. So here's how it works. Take the Black Tux fit quiz, pick the style you want to wear, and boom, your tux is delivered to your door 10 days before the day you need it. That's plenty of time to try it on and make sure it wears you well. And hey, if the fit's not quite right, say hello to the Black Tux Fit Guarantee. Order a better size within a day or two of receiving the less than great fitting one, and they'll send another one right away at no extra cost. Their expert fit specialist will help you find the perfect style tux or suit and make sure it fits just right. Listen, I've been dubious in the past about online sites or apps that say they can get your measurements, but the fit quiz with the Black Tux works great. And man, I wish I had had these guys for so many events I've attended over the years. So rent or buy, the Black Tux is the best place to go when you need a tuxedo for a wedding or a special night. And right now, when you go to theblacktux.com/Campea and use the code Campea, you'll save $20 off your order. That's TheBlackTux.com/Campea, code Campea to save $20. And thank you to our friends at Rocket Money and the Black Tux. I really do wish they were around earlier in my life for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. Listen, guys, remember, when you go and check out and support our sponsors, you're actually supporting us. So if you go down to the description of this video, you'll find links and promo codes for all of today's sponsors. And thank you again to Rocket Money and the Black Tux. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, in the world of streaming, there kind of became, as it was all kind of blowing up during the pandemic and all that kind of stuff, there was this fairy tale myth that everybody just kind of started to believe about streaming, that it was just free money, right? Because you don't have to send it out to a movie theater. People just stream it. It's cheap, it's easy, and it's just free money. Now, we did a video report, maybe about a year ago, where we talked about the actual administration costs and operating costs of these companies, where they get into the double-digit billions every single year just for the infrastructure and the back and all that kind of stuff. But one of the numbers that we haven't talked a lot about, and a lot of people don't talk about, is the actual cost and the money that these streamers and these studios will spend every year to create content. So I thought it would be fun. There's a really good article here on IndieWire about it, as a matter of fact. So I thought we would take a second, because I think it's very, very informative and gives us a really neat insight into stuff, and look at how much, reportedly, this year in 2023, are these streaming services and studios going to spend on creating content. The numbers might surprise you a little bit. Let's start with the lowest one, and that's Peacock. I still hate saying and typing the words on that. Peacock, which, by the way, now has 20 million subscribers. So good on them, Peacock. I actually, as much as I hate the name Peacock, I really do like their streaming service. At any rate, Peacock this year will spend $3 billion on content creation. That's original movies, shows, that kind of stuff. They're going to be spending $3 billion.
Which is impressive for their size of streaming, I'd say.
Yeah, because they're spending for what they want to be, not what they are. And that might either be genius or foolhardy, depending on what kind of results they get.
You got to compete right now, though.
But they got to compete. So they are targeted to spend $3 billion. They spent $3 billion in 2022, and they're forecasted to spend $3 billion again in 2023. All right. Then we go to the next one, which is Paramount Plus, I guess you can say. Paramount Plus is forecast to be spending $4 billion in content creation this year. That, again, is going to be some original film stuff for the thing. Plus, they've got a lot of, they're spending a lot in Star Trek material and a whole bunch of others. You got the whole Yellowstone universe. You got all that kind of stuff going on with Paramount Plus. They are going to spend $4 billion in content creation this year. And again, Paramount Plus is a studio or is a streaming service that I am really enjoying. I'm enjoying quite a bit. All right, we move up the list here now to the bigger spenders. Apple. Apple is estimated to be spending $7 billion this year in content creation. Listen, we often talk around here how Warner Brothers is the gold standard of quality when it comes to their programming. Apple TV Plus is giving them a run for their money because, I mean, they're what's the one with Reese Witherspoon called The Morning Show? Morning Show is fantastic. For All Mankind,
Yeah.
you know, is pretty damn good. They've got, right now, they got one of the hottest shows in the world in Ted Lasso. That shrinking show that I think is one of the best things on TV right now with Harrison Ford and Jason Segel. That show is absolutely incredible. The only show they've put out that I didn't really like is the Jason Momoa show C. And I love Jason, but I'm not big on that show. But everything else, of course,
Severance,
which is coming back.
And I was watching Slow Horses. I got through the first season.
I haven't watched Slow Horses. I've heard nothing but good stuff about it.
And
Did you like it?
First season. Yeah, so there's 2 seasons.
Which one did you say, Ray?
Invasion.
Is that an Apple TV
no
Plus?
I really liked that one, but I liked it.
Yeah, I did not. Okay, I didn't like Invasion, but I don't count that because I gave up on it after like 1 or 2 episodes. I just couldn't take it much. But seriously, they are crushing it.
Yeah.
They're doing great. And they've got all the money in the world, but they're being pretty fiscally responsible because they're spending $7 billion, but they could spend more.
They got that Godzilla one they're working on, which I'm
I
excited
forgot about
Yeah.
that. So they got a lot of stuff coming. So $7 billion they're going to spend this year.
They've got money to burn. I think they have like $53 billion just in cash right now.
Just in their bank accounts. Yeah. They got a lot of money. Now that's obviously not for Apple TV Plus. That's for the company as a whole.
Yeah.
All right, then we move up the list. Amazon, the one company on this list that can actually go toe to toe with Apple when it comes to pure money. Amazon is spending a reported $10 billion in content this year. They are going all in hardcore. Because remember, their portfolio is also going to include putting those movies out, a lot of their movies out in theaters. So they're making some theatrical films all to benefit their Amazon Prime streaming service as well, because then those movies will go to Amazon Prime streaming. And I'm pretty sure 9.8 of that 10 billion is just for their Lord of the Rings stuff. I'm obviously exaggerating, but I mean, but they are going big. They're spending big money, man. $10 billion this year alone on content. All right, let's move up the ring even a little bit more, because if you thought 10 was big,
Netflix, don't do it. Don't you do it.
Netflix is spending. Netflix, you're greenlit, $17 billion.
They better be sending out to theaters.
$17 billion. And I think, listen, they're the one company, especially with remember we talked about that announcement yesterday, that Apple is committing $1 billion alone to theatrical released films per year. Because they realize, and let's go my full screen here. They realize, and we talked about it yesterday, that if you want something to perform well on streaming, put it in theaters first. That will make your streaming even better. And that's not opinion anymore, guys. There's enough data to back that up to call it absolute fact. If you want a movie to do great on your streaming service, give it a theatrical release first. It's, again, in my best Ron Burgundy, it's science. It's just science. They get it. Netflix is kind of like the last one digging in their heels trying, but even they are starting to give in a little bit and realize, hey, maybe we need to experiment a little bit with theatrical. They did give a theatrical release to the Knives Out sequel, Glass Onion. They've got a couple of more coming on the horizon that they'll probably do that for. We'll see them move. But they are a big spender here, spending $17 billion. But you know they're not as big as Warner Brothers Discovery. Warner Brothers Discovery is going to be spending this year $20 billion. Wow.
Dang.
And now that includes their theatrical, TV, and streaming, because ultimately it all trickles down to HBO Max. At the end of the day, all this content they're going to create, it may have to go over here for a little while because of a licensing agreement and over there for a while, but ultimately everything they're going to create this year is with the purpose of it eventually all funneling down and being on HBO Max, or whatever HBO Max is going to be called in a couple of weeks. So, and they are spending $20 billion. And, you know, none of that is on Batgirl. But some of it's on Blue Beetle, a bunch of it is on Flash, all that kind of stuff, but $20 billion on 1 year of content.
It's a lot of Velma.
That's so much Velma. So like they're gonna drop 7 seasons of Velma in like 3 months.
Bomb after bomb.
Bomb after bomb after bomb. So, all Velma all the time, 24/7. HBO Max Velma. So $20 billion. All right. So you think that's the king of the hill, right? Nope. Then we've got this little company called Disney. Disney is reportedly going to be spending this year, $30 billion on content creation. Now, again, like Warner Brothers, that will include theatrical, TV, and streaming, because again, at the end of the day, the long-term plan is all this content they're going to be creating will ultimately funnel down to either be on Disney Plus, Hulu, ESPN, whatever. It's going to end up on a streaming platform eventually. And that's their content strategy. $30 billion. It's absolutely crazy. I mean, these types of numbers are nuts. But that apparently is what they're going to be spending this year. So let's go back to the list again just for a second, because I mean, look at the disparity. If we go from Peacock to Disney, one is literally spending 10 times the amount that the other one is spending on that and on their service. It's pretty crazy. Anything jump out to any of you guys of these like insane numbers that we're looking at here?
I mean, 91 billion. What stands out to me is that there's going to be a lot of jobs in production.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of work coming, and it also means that movies clearly aren't dead. I mean, they're sending some of this money out to theaters.
Yeah, a lot of it's going there. Again, I think most of the streaming services and the studios are realizing that this whole idea that, look, if you want it to work, you got to recognize how it works together. Theatrical feeds to streaming. It's not streaming for streaming. They're realizing that over the past year and a half that that's a model that doesn't work.
Yeah.
You go theatrical, go streaming. Look, it's not terribly unlike the old Blockbuster DVD days. You want a DVD to sell? You put the movie in theaters. The DVDs on the shelf that were in theaters first will fly off the shelves a lot faster than the ones that just went straight to DVD.
Right.
Do you think we'll start seeing those things more often, like what the Lord of the Rings did, theater release of like the first 2 episodes for like popular shows? Or is there an IP out there that can actually pull that off, like Lord of the Rings?
Well, a lot of people talked for a long time that they thought, I mean, I heard movements of that. People thought, there were a lot of people who believed that HBO should have been releasing episodes of like straight up episodes of Game of Thrones in the theaters first for a week and then put it on HBO. I mean, so I don't know, maybe they'll get, it might start backwashing the other way where people thought, just bypass the theaters. Now, maybe even just regular TV shows. There's some people speculating that just regular TV shows will also include a theatrical element. I don't know that we'll ever actually get to that, to be honest, but it's something that the studios have clearly played around with before. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about, these are some astronomical numbers, man. You're talking about that type of money being put into content creation this month, and we wonder why some of these streaming services struggle a little bit to maybe be profitable. And by the way, these production budget numbers, they're not far off from just what their infrastructure numbers are too. That's how expensive it is. That's why people hear Disney Plus lost money last year. How is that even possible? That's how it's possible. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Whatever your thoughts are, jump on down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. All right, guys. With that down, let's move into our final and main topic here today, shall we? Yesterday was the day. John Wick, Chapter 4, finally. After years. How long ago did we say the last one was?
2019.
2019, 4 years since Winston shot John Wick off that roof. Can't believe it. 4 years. And John Wick Chapter 4 finally returned with a number of new characters, including Donnie Yen, who is freaking awesome in this movie.
Yes, sir.
Look, Ray and I did a quick out of the theater reaction to this movie yesterday. This movie is a masterpiece of its genre. And I'm not saying it's I'm not comparing it to The Godfather, but of its genre, of the action, gun fu kind of whatever genre. This is a master. This is a Picasso. This is violence personified perfection. And I was real damn nervous going into this movie, man, about the 3-hour runtime, because it can become exhausting. And I will admit up front, there are a couple of the action sequences that maybe did feel like they went a little too long. I've seen that criticism, and you know what? I acknowledge that criticism because I think you do have a point. I think there are a couple of parts in this movie where maybe the action sequences stretch on for too long. But the action sequences are so good. And I've heard somebody say, some of the action moves that Wick pulls, some of them become a little bit repetitive. Well, because that's how a real fighter would do it. A real fight, like if John Wick actually had techniques that worked, you would see if he's going to have 150 fights, several of those fights will have a similar move that he pulled in a previous one, because that's how it would really be. But the fight sequences are masterful, absolutely masterful. And I'll tell you what, the cinematography of this movie. There's a scene in this movie where they decide to go like, the whole movie feels like a video game, but where they kind of go full video game mode, where the camera starts here, right? Looking at the action, and then it starts to elevate and goes over top, and it becomes a top-down view as they're moving from room to room in this place, and crazy fights and violence is going on that, like, I lost count of how many times, like me, Ray, and Ann sitting side by side, I totally lost count of how many times in this movie all of us went, whoa! Like when like something like, oh my God, like a guy falling down, his face smashing on a step or something like that. I'm going, ah! Like so many moments, and I completely lost the body count. I at the beginning of the movie, I started thinking to myself, you know what? I'm going to just in the back of my head keep a little counter. I'm going to count how many people John Wick kills. I had to stop after 5 minutes. I completely lost count.
And the sounds of the blasters too, the impact of every type of a blaster they used. And I say
love how you
blasters
call
only,
guns blasters.
Yeah. It's only because I don't like to use the other word, but
Okay,
like blasters, like it's just the impact. You could tell what the amount of damage it
would do. They would all do. The sound design in this movie so adds to the overall experience. Like, just look at this shot. Look at the beauty. This whole, like the cinematography in this, like there's a movie called, that I think, it's a Jet Li movie that I think Donnie Yen is also in, called Hero. I can't remember if Donnie Yen's in that movie or not. I think he is. Anyway,
So
there's a movie called Hero with Jet Li that had North American release.
He's in it.
And it's a really good movie. Like, I don't think it's like one of the best movies ever made, but it's a really good movie. But it is the most beautiful movie I've ever seen. Like, every single frame of Hero is a work of art. Like, you could literally take any frame from that movie, blow it up, print it, and hang it on your wall as art. John Wick Chapter 4 is actually quite similar. Not as much as Hero was, but the locations and the set designs, and it's just gorgeous to look at. Like, there's a scene even when Winston is walking down a hallway, and everybody in the theater is just going, wow, just from the
that part.
Yeah, like it's just crazy, beautiful, and gorgeous. Their choice of location, the way they position the cameras, the way they choreograph the movement, it was brilliant. So sound design, top shelf.
You know what sound is running through my head still?
The footsteps?
No, my favorite sound in the movie is the sword blocking a bullet. It's just, and then you're, or whatever.
Every sound, man.
So,
Every sound. So sound design, top shelf. Cinematography, top shelf. Choreography, top shelf. I mean, just from a technical perspective, this movie is world class. Now, is the story, by the way, Scott Adkins there in the blue suit. All right. I knew he of course he was on the show of like he appeared on the show here a couple months ago when we were talking. He mentioned that he was in the new John Wick and all kind of stuff. And I didn't know what he was doing. He's in one of the trailers. You may not know it's him, but he's Zikilla. The guy with the gold teeth. That's Scott. He's in one of the trailers as the character basically he plays Kingpin in a way, but his name is Zikilla.
He's great.
And he's awesome. He's so awesome. In this, it's absolute. I just ate it up. It's so great. He's got a great action sequences in this that are just top shelf. Absolutely. Now let's talk about Donnie Yen for a second. The backstory they gave for what leads to the conflict between John Wick and Donnie Yen's character is brilliantly laid out. Because I bought, as a viewer, this is inescapable. Mm-hmm. This circumstance they are in is inescapable.
They're all over.
It's a catch-22 for both of them, and I'm not going to say what it is, but all the roads are going to lead to them confronting each other, right? And it's solidly laid out. Now, the overall story, narrative part has not always been the strongest part of the John Wick franchise. I still think the mythology of the world they've built is incredible. Of the high table, the continental, the markers, like all that kind of stuff. The mythology they've built around this world is insane. But Donnie Yen, you hear a lot of people saying he kind of stole the show. In many ways, he did. He was absolutely fantastic. everybody who's in this movie. It's just so cool. Everything about this movie is just dripped in coolness. I mean, again, talk about cinematography and the set design, all that kind of stuff. This image itself. And Donnie Yen is now perfecting a new art craft of playing blind warriors. That's what he does. That's all Donnie Yen does now. He plays blind warriors. But damn it, he does it well. I don't like Daredevil's chances against, what was his character's name again? Kane.
Kane. Sorry. I was concentrating.
Listen, I'll straight up tell you right now. I do not like Daredevil's chances against Kane. In a blind action hero tour de force battle royale, I don't think it ends well for Daredevil.
There's also there's another character or a couple other characters that they introduced which were impactful too. His name is Shamir Anderson.
Oh, the tracker.
The tracker.
Oh, the tracker.
Mr. Nobody.
The guy with the dog. Because of course, every John Wick movie needs a dog. This is one of the best dogs that they've had in the John Wick franchise.
Yeah.
So they treat the dog. There's a couple of moments in the middle, and I'm not going to reveal them, but I'm just going to say there's a couple of moments in the movie where the dog is almost treated like the monster in an 80s horror movie. Like, I won't explain it at all. It just like is
The
pretty
use of that was
damn
genius.
great. And then you got Bill Skarsgård as the Maquis. Like, he's great.
Yeah,
and
Joe
he's
Burrow?
I wanted Joe Burrow. Ray kept calling him Joe Burrow. See if you can find a picture of Bill Skarsgård and Joe Burrow and put them up side by side, because
Well, he just reminds me of him. Just
I
look at
know
his face.
we're driving. It's like, damn, Joe Burrow, why are you doing it like that? Because he plays a great, frightening, intimidating, and detestable
Yeah.
villain that you just hate and you want to see him die. And of course, Lawrence Fishburne is always great. Ian McShane is as great as ever. Actually, I think I liked Ian McShane in this John Wick more than I've ever seen him in this thing. He was absolutely fantastic about it as Winston. It's got oh my God. And you keep thinking, when you're seeing these action, you're thinking like, how will this, like, you can't get more bonkers and crazy than this first action scene. And then they elevate it, 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 and then they elevate it. And it comes to this climax, and you're like, what the freaking hell?
I'm a little
I'm
off.
telling you,
I'm
it's
a
not
little
far
off.
off.
It kind of reminded me throughout the whole film. I
Bill
was like,
Skarsgård, NFL quarterback. But, man, I'm telling you, it is now my favorite of the John Wick films. Now, the overall mythology and whatever, there's a little bit more emotionality in John Wick Chapter 1. By the way, how good. That's Hamada, right?
Oh, yeah, him too.
No,
Scorpion.
his last name's not Hamada.
Scorpion.
What's this actor's name? Taylor, look that up
Looking
again.
it up right now.
Why am I freezing on it? But anyway, he was also just recently in Bullet
Kombat.
Train. He was so good in Bullet Train. Anyway,
Someone said
Westworld
Sonata.
he was, what's that?
Sonata.
Sonata, not Hamada. Sonata. Thank you.
Hiroyuki Sanada.
Again, every character in this movie just oozes cool.
Mm-hmm.
So cool. It is almost a parody of something, but put in such a cool, I don't know, man. It is hard to express just how much fun I had at this movie. It was great. Like, Ray, you saw it with me. You enjoyed yourself a great deal. Yes. Would you say it's your favorite of the month, or do you think maybe Creed is your favorite? Like, what do you think?
It's between those two, and it's still between John Wick 1 and John Wick 4. I hate to use this word, but it's like, and I'm sorry if it offends anyone, but this movie traumatized me in a good way. Like, I mean, like I'm not an action gung fu kind of guy, and so I haven't seen a lot of the Asian movies. Maybe they've been doing some of this stuff too.
Right.
But some of the things I saw in this movie will forever be embedded in my head. Like, I was just thinking about it when I woke up this morning. Just some of the scenes. I was like, that's crazy. I give it up to all the stunt guys that were on this film. They did a lot. And Keanu Reeves, what is he, pushing 60? Almost, or 50 something?
Well, he's in
I
his
don't know.
50s. He's definitely in his 50s. I don't know. I don't think he's getting
He's 58 years old.
He's getting
great.
close to 60.
It showed you the scope of the table in this.
Yeah.
I love that there was a resolution here. And I love that even against all odds, being 3 hours, and me after the third one saying, I don't need another one. I needed this.
Yeah.
You know what? I thought I didn't need any more because I thought I saw enough. Like, and then they said, oh, it's 3 hours of what you had enough of. I was like, no, man, I'm going to probably not like this movie. It's just going to ruin it. This movie is the best of the year along with Creed so far for me.
And by the way, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Clancy Brown.
Oh, yeah.
Who, because one of my top 10 favorite films of all time, as everybody knows, is The Highlander, the original Highlander, and Clancy Brown, the Kurgan. He's also in another one of my top 10 all-time favorite films, in Shawshank Redemption, as the main prison guard guy. He has got a voice of thunder, and he's like the representative of the high table. And so when he speaks,
and he played it so well.
Oh, he played it so well.
No matter what happened, nothing phased him.
Nope, nothing phases him, and he doesn't take crap from nobody.
All business, baby.
Just that thunderous voice of his, I just absolutely love. The dude is fantastic. Anyway, guys, John Wick Chapter 4. If you have not gone out to see it yet, make plans this weekend. If you have other plans, change them. Go see John Wick Chapter 4. It's just a hell of a good time. Anyway, guys, did you have a chance to see it so far? If so, what did you think about it? If you haven't, where's your expectations? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and leave us your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we're now going to move on to your questions that you guys have been sending in via the tip link. Once again, if you want to send in a question for the show that if it's not answered right now on this show, it'll be answered in an upcoming video. Simply write it anytime 24/7 to streamelements.com/John Campea/tip. And we will get to those questions right after we take a moment to thank a couple of sponsors of today's show, our friends at Fume and my mobile service provider, Mint Mobile. Guys, we want to take a second to thank the sponsor of today's video, Fume. Be smart. Don't start. Kick the habit. Put it out before it puts you out. All phrases we've heard 100 times, yet we still continue to have bad habits. And I know all of you guys completely relate with me when I say kicking bad habits feel like it's impossible. Well, thankfully, our sponsor Fume is on a mission to accelerate humanity's breakup from the bad habits that consume far too many of us. Fume is a natural diffusive device that uses plants and behavioral science to help you trade out your negative habit for a positive one. And understand, Fume is not a vape. It's a non-electronic device designed to transform your negative habits. Instead of pods filled with potentially harmful chemicals like a vape, Fume uses cores infused with plants like peppermint and cinnamon for delicious natural flavors. And Fume's new version 2 model is snappy and tactile. The easiest way to stop a bad habit is to switch to a positive one, and Fume is designed perfectly to do just that. It's Fume's goal to make switching easy and even enjoyable. They have thousands of 5-star reviews from people just like you who've successfully switched when other solutions simply don't work. So head to tryfume.com and use the code CAMPEA to save 10% off when you get the Journey Pack today. The Journey Pack comes with 3 unique flavors and the new version 2 Fume to help kickstart your positive habits. That's tryfum.com and use the code CAMPEA to save an additional 10% off on your order today. We want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this video, Mint Mobile. If saving more and spending less is one of your top goals for 2023, why are you still paying insane amounts of money every month for your phone bill? Switching to Mint Mobile is the easiest way to save this year. As the first company to sell premium wireless service online only, Mint Mobile lets you order from home and save a ton with phone plans starting at just $15 a month. You guys know I made the switch over to Mint Mobile a while ago. The process couldn't have been easier, and I can't believe that I am spending less than a third of what I was spending on one of the other major carriers before. By going online only and eliminating the traditional costs of retail, Mint Mobile passes the significant savings on to you. All plans come with unlimited talk, text, and high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and switch easily in minutes with eSIM. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door free, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at Fume and Mint Mobile for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. All right, guys, with that down, let's get over and start answering the questions that you guys have been sending into our tip link. So, Jonathan, what are we starting with?
All right, we've got Jar Jar Binks. I wonder what he's going to say.
Oh, God.
Peace of the way, John. Mrs. So excited to see you.
I just know it's going to be Jar Jar. This is because they just. All right, what's next?
All right, Jermaine King writes, somewhere in Connecticut, Vince McMahon is listening to all your Zachary Levi, The Rock topics, and is thinking, I can turn this into Rock versus Levi WrestleMania main event.
I mean, listen, if Zach Levi was maybe 70 pounds more muscle on him.
He's got a lot of muscle, but it's still
he
not
does.
enough.
He does. He's great.
Not enough.
He could totally make that. If they could coordinate with Warner Brothers to make a just like they did in years past. They could totally coordinate to make a WrestleMania main event. You know he would do that if they had the chance. All right, what's next?
Just add 70 more pounds.
By the way,
muscle.
Ray and I are going to WrestleMania.
Oh yeah.
This year. Me, Ray, Ann, and a couple of our friends.
Day 2.
Yeah, we're going to go day 2. We're not going to go the full weekend, but we're going to go day 2, watch the main events there. So it's going to be fun. All right, what's next?
All right, Chillmonger writes, Kingpin and Hawkeye didn't have superpowers.
Yes,
If
he
you're
did.
Referring to his strength, they're portraying him closer to the comics with this iteration. He is not superpowered.
No, he
isn't
is
even in the
absolutely.
comics.
You cannot watch that show. There's even with exaggerated reality, like John Wick Chapter 4, some of the stuff John Wick is able to do, that's exaggerated reality. Even with exaggerated reality, the stuff that Kingpin done is dead. Nobody denies it.
He's not
The
super
stuff
soldier strong, but he's still stronger.
It is superpowered.
Yeah.
Like there's no getting around that. It is absolutely 100% superpowered that he has in that. It's not exaggerated reality. It's 100% superpower. All right,
Even the comics explain it as he's not fat, that's all muscle.
Yeah.
But that's not a natural
No, that's
amount of
not the
muscle.
case here. No.
All right. Suthius, I don't know. Suthius writes, I don't know, guys. To me, at this point in time, it seems that the title of The Mandalorian has been, and will be about Grogu. Sure, Din and Bo are great characters, but nothing really special about them. Grogu, on the other hand, he'll be one of a kind.
Well, I mean, so we were talking the other day on, I think it was on the Mandalorian after show that we did. We were talking about, hey, listen, it could be that the title of the show, The Mandalorian, may not be about Din. It could be about Bo-Katan. Like maybe somebody suggested that maybe we're entering to a phase of the show where the story is transitioning from Din to Bo-Katan, which isn't a crazy theory because Bo-Katan is the rightful ruler of Mandalore. She's probably going to be the one to restore Mandalore, all that kind of stuff, maybe. Or Din or Grogu, Baby Yoda, is currently in training to become a Mandalorian. Maybe the story's about him. However, the posters say The Mandalorian and is a big picture of Din. So that probably is what it is. But hey, don't be shocked if we find out that The Mandalorian, because The Mandalorian could be any of the Mandalorians. It could be their armor. It could be Paz Vizsla. It could be any of them. But most likely it's probably Din. All right, what's next?
Or it's just plural, right? The Mandalorian. Like, it could be plural.
You could be, yep.
All right, Wicked Man has a couple here. First off, hey, John, when I watched the Star Wars prequels, I found myself asking why. Why is Anakin a baby Jesus? Why did Anakin build C-3PO? Why is Anakin cutting a promo on sand?
that still goes down. Look, even the most hardened defenders of the prequels, which I will never be one, but even the most hardened defenders of the prequels, there's a few things in the prequels that even the most adamant defenders of the prequels will go, yeah, that one, that part was kind of bad. And the sand speech is definitely one of those ones that ranks right up there. It's pretty terrible. All right, what's next?
All right, Wicked Man is back. One of my favorite KOs is when Usman put Masvidal in or out cold with that perfect punch.
That is one of the most, I mean, that is right up there with Ngannou's knockout. That one when Alistair Overeem, remember that knockout, Ray?
Yeah.
Like that was the one time in a fight that I literally thought that guy's dead.
Yeah.
Like when he hit Overeem with that shot, I thought his head was coming off his shoulders.
He hasn't been the same after.
No, was never the same again. And nobody is the same after.
Even Masvidal wasn't the same after.
No, Masvidal was
His
never the same after
mystique
that.
was gone.
By the way, Masvidal, who got knocked out by Usman, he also has one of the all-time classic knockouts against
Ben Askren. Yeah.
The knockout that happened in 3 seconds, the 3-second knockout. Ding, ding, ran across, gave a big flying knee, knocked him out cold, and the boom, that was over.
It's one of those crazy ideas that just happen to work out.
Yeah.
But we've seen people try that tons of times, and when it doesn't work out, it's like, what are they doing? But that time it did.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen a lot of fights where some guy just runs in with a flying punch that happens plenty of times.
But there's only some that
But
really
this one
stick
was
in your memory like that.
Perfect.
Yeah,
That it
totally
actually
perfect.
worked this time.
Because when Usman hit Masvidal on that chin, his whole body, like his head didn't just go, his whole body turned into a
It was
corkscrew.
the
It's like,
perfect shot because you could tell by his feet the minute it landed, his toes, and they curled up while he was standing.
Yep. He was out before he hit the
over.
ground.
Lights out. There's
All right,
yeah.
what's next?
All right, Anonymous is here who writes, hey, I think the Star Wars prequels should have had Anakin start out as older like Luke. And also, didn't Leia say that she remembered her mom as a little girl, but Padme died giving birth?
Yeah, listen, there are a number of inconsistencies between the original trilogy, the prequels, and even the sequel trilogy. That thing's like, what did she say? They were on Endor. She goes, I don't remember my mother. No, it was Luke says, I don't remember my mother. She says she just vaguely remembers things. You could, if you wanted to play semantics, you say, well, Padme did hold her for a second and name her, and maybe that image imprinted on her brain.
She's more sensitive, so the aura of her mom.
Yeah, you could do all that.
It's a stretch.
Really, it's a stretch. It's a little bit of an inconsistency, but they try to find a way to make it work. All right, what's next?
All right, Fanimator is here. If you had to put $10 on it, which Star Wars movie do you think will come out first, Taika Waititi or Stephen Knight? And which one will get a title at Star Wars Celebration?
I don't know that either of them are still going to be working for Star Wars by the time okay, if I had to put money on it, Stephen Knight's one. I don't have a lot of confidence right now. I've not heard anything. Just to be clear, this is just me as a fan speaking. I don't feel confident that Taika's is even going to happen. And despite the fact, seriously, sometimes we as a fandom, and I'll speak for myself as well, we as a fandom drive me nuts sometimes, and I'll include myself in that. Like Taika Waititi, what did he give us? He gave us What We Do in the Shadows. Then he gave us, then he had The Will to People. And then he gave us the TV show of What We Do in the Shadows, which was one of the best things that's been on TV in years. And then he gave us one of my favorite movies the past number of years in Jojo Rabbit. That movie is just a masterful movie, won an Academy Award. He did a great job on the episodes he directed The Mandalorian. He killed it with Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok is a huge, huge, successful, beloved film. But you bring up Taika Waititi, and what's the only thing fans today want to go to? Thor Love and Thunder. Hey, listen, I bet Thor Love and Thunder. I agree. Thor Love and Thunder was a bad day at the office for Taika Waititi. He went too far in that one movie into the silly comedy. But like all of a sudden, Star Wars fans were like, don't let Taika Waititi anywhere near a Star Wars movie. Did you see Thor Love and Thunder? But like the recency blindness that and listen, I say that having been guilty of it myself. I know this is in our fandom because I've done it too. We've all done it. But it drives me crazy. It's like, you do know you're talking about the guy who did Ragnarok and the guy who did What We Do in the Shadows and Winter People and when Jojo Rabbit won an Academy Award. But yeah, but he did Love and Thunder, so keep him away from Star Wars.
I don't even think it's an acknowledgement of I think it's a disassociative like thing where they're just like they compartmentalize them into what they hate the most.
Yes.
And they can't even see, because then you might ask them, they're like, oh, Ragnarok's my favorite movie of the MCU, and they don't even think like it's the same person.
Listen, and again, it's not an us and them thing. It's what we all do as fans. We all fall into that trap sometimes, me included. I'm not pointing fingers because I've done it too. But it is one of the more frustrating things that we as fans do. All right, anyway, what's next?
All right, K-Rock writes, I recommended the Patrice O'Neal special, Elephant in the Room.
Right, I remember that.
Yeah, just swinging back through to say I emailed you the link to the special. Enjoy. Let me know what you think. Also, you guys should definitely watch the Wu-Tang show on Hulu. It's worth it.
You know, they wrote in the other day, I can't remember if it was him who wrote the same thing, but somebody wrote in the other day about Samir, who is on the Wu-Tang Clan show, right? And I've heard nothing but good things about it. I do kind of wish they gave it the Straight Outta Compton treatment and made it a feature film with Leonardo DiCaprio, like was pitched, but it did. But at some point, I do have to sit down and watch that.
And I have seen that Patrice O'Neal special, and it's
is it
actually
good?
very good. Yeah,
I gotta check it out sometime.
it's an older one, but it's good.
All right, what's next?
Okay, JRod71 writes, what's Peter Safran's liability for the failure of Shazam? As producer, all faults with marketing, etc. lands at his door. The Rock issues seem to be a smokescreen. As the producing side of the DC Gunverse, is he beyond reproach?
Within the bigger studio system, sometimes there are things that are normally associated with the producer's role that won't always be. Like, for example, a studio will have executive vice presidents and presidents of marketing. And even if you're the producer of a movie, so let's say Jonathan Voico produces a movie, right? Okay. And I'm the studio and I finance the film and we're going to be the distribution of it. That's great that Jonathan's the producer of the film. He hires the directors. He makes sure the whole film comes together and all that kind of stuff. But when you're in a system like the Warner Brothers system, when it comes to marketing the film, that's adorable that you're the producer, but I have a marketing department. I have marketing executives whose pure expertise and experience is 100% just marketing a film. Now, that doesn't mean they knock it out of the park at every time. We've seen lots of films that have had bad marketing campaigns, but many that have had marvelous marketing campaigns. So that unfortunately or fortunately, depending on your perspective, that doesn't fall on Peter Safran as the producer. That goes to Warner Brothers and their marketing executives and stuff like that. If you consider the Shazam 2 marketing bad marketing. So yeah, that wouldn't be on Peter Safran because he's not a marketing exec. But as the new studio head for the movies coming out further down the line, that will become an issue. So Shazam 2 was already in the pipeline long before they became the new studio heads. The Warner Brothers marketing machine was already in charge of it. But down the line, he and James Gunn both will have to shoulder a little bit of the responsibility of marketing, depending on how Warner Brothers handles the marketing of DC films. Does DC have its own division of marketing, or do they use the Warner Brothers division? Right? You know what? No, it'll still be Warner Brothers because distribution is not what DC does. Warner Brothers would still be the distributor, and the distributor is always in charge of the marketing. So there you go. Even moving forward, it's not going to be Peter Safran's thing. All right, what's next?
All right, Corey Hensley writes, it amazes me how long it's taking these companies to figure out the theater to streaming business model. If only they'd look to the theater to home video rental model.
I was just saying that.
Of how to build momentum for your IP by going theater release first.
Again, it's not even a discussion anymore. The data is so solid. The data is all there. It's just science that when you put the movies in theaters, like then even David Zaslav came out and said, yeah, we have learned through the streaming stuff, put a movie in the theaters first, and then it'll do much better on streaming when you drop it on streaming. It's the market, it's the way it will work, and eventually Netflix will figure it out too.
Yeah, it puts a bit of a stank on the movie. It's like, this is like streaming quality. This isn't, they didn't put it in theaters.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And that's why filmmakers now are really insisting, listen, if I'm going to make a movie with you, like Scorsese is like, I want a theatrical release. That's where movies are supposed to be. All right, what's next?
Okay, Corey Hensley's back. On Thursday's show, you mentioned feeling conflicted about putting your doc on YouTube because of those who previously paid for it. As someone who bought it, I did so because of interest and to support your work and channel. I say put it on YouTube for the masses.
Yeah, so of course, my documentary, Movie Trailers, A Love Story, I was contemplating putting it up on YouTube because, I mean, it's done its run, and thank you to everybody who supported the movie because it did really well for us. But I felt a little bit weird because, some people bought and rented it, and then a year and a half later for it to come out free. Now, I've had many people then tell me, well, John, that's what happens with all movies. You go to see it in a movie theater, and at some point it's going to be CBS's Movie of the Week, or it's going to be on TBS, or it's going to be on whatever where people watch for free. It's the same thing. So I'm still wrestling with that a little bit, but thank you for your input, man. I appreciate that. All right, what's next?
Anonymous writes, "Hi John, I don't get to send in tips often, but I wanted to say thank you for putting shrinking on my radar. My wife and I don't watch a lot of TV together because we have drastically different tastes. We are both loving the show. It's phenomenal.
The only thing that sucks is yesterday was its season finale.
But now I get to binge it.
Hey, now you get to binge, and it's awesome. The season finale was so freaking good. This show is so wonderful. I cannot recommend it highly enough. If you guys haven't started watching the Jason Segel, Harrison Ford show, Shrinking, it's beautifully emotionally, but it's ripping hilarious at the same time. Harrison Ford's character is one of my favorite characters on TV now. Go check it out. All right, what's next?
Zach Keel is next. Sorry, I forgot to put in my name before. Shrinking is great. Thanks again.
Oh, no problem,
there
Zach.
you
Thank
go.
you so much for following up, though. I appreciate that.
All right. Korea Got Soul writes, hey, John and the gang. It's been a long time. Hope you guys are well. So I'm really looking forward to the Flash movie and wondering if Supergirl is actually Superman's daughter. She kind of looks like the character from the comics. Thoughts?
I know. I don't think so. My guess, and this is just a guess, okay, just a guess. My guess is, again, it's a different reality resulting from Flashpoint or whatever. It's going to be that Kara's capsule got to Earth and Kal-El's didn't. I think that's just the big difference. And then Zod still shows up, but it was Kara that got away instead of Kal-El. Whether that is the case or not, I don't know. But that's the way I think they're going. I don't think they're going to pitch it that it's his daughter. Because remember, the timeline, right? She apparently is going to be there to want to stand against Zod when Zod arrives. So not like 30 years after Kal-El arrives. So we'll see where they go. All right, what's next?
Antagonistic Anonymous writes, Deadline's Justin Kay reports Sue Storm is going to be cast for Fantastic Four. Jeff Snyder's best source claims that Reed and Sue are parents in the film. Do you think, if true, Marvel casted its Reed Richards quite some time ago? One person clearly stands out, if so.
I believe Reed Richards and Sue Storm have both been cast and have been cast for a while. I'm not going to say much more beyond that. I will just say that it is my belief right now that the two are already cast and have been cast for a bit. Now, whether or not that turns out to be true or not with what I think I know may or may not be true. So we'll see as we get forward. I do believe the parents angle, though. I do believe that because I think for a long time we've believed this isn't going to be an origin story per se. I think we're going to meet the Fantastic Four a little further along the line. Again, I don't know that. That's what I'm thinking we're doing. So that's why the fact that the reports that they're already going to be parents, that makes sense with where my thinking's at. So we'll see. Great question, though. All right, what's next?
Chris B. writes, I know you're excited for Stephen Knight to write a Star Wars film, but I'm not. Since 2014, he wrote 8 films and only 2 are fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. With one allied fresh in spite of his writing. So I don't think Stephen Knight is as good as a writer as he used to be.
I mean, listen, everybody being a writer is not like being a professional baseball player where after time you just start to lose your thing as much. Listen, I didn't like the show C, but a lot of people did. A lot of people like that Jason Momoa show on Apple TV Plus, and he was the creator. He wrote all 24 episodes of that thing, so a lot of people like it. Peaky Blinders went right up to 2022. People love that show. Love that show. And he's the creator and writer of it. Spencer, a lot of people love Spencer. Got Oscar buzz. Got a couple of Oscar nominations. Can you look that up for me, Taylor?
Yeah.
Spencer, I believe it got at least one Oscar nomination. Might have got a couple. Look that up. So that was just in 2021. So I'm not sure. And by the way, I like Girl in the Spiderweb with Claire Foy. I like that movie. It wasn't as good as the other girl movies, like Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. It wasn't as good as the other ones, but I still thought it was pretty good. So this whole idea that he hasn't done anything good lately, I don't know that I agree. I would have to disagree, actually. Were you able to find out anything on Spencer there?
Yeah, so Kristen Stewart got nominated for
Best Actress.
for Best Actress. And then
Is that the only nomination it got, or did it get something else?
You know what? It looks like that's the only one it got.
Okay, but I knew it got something there. So yeah, anyway, there you go. But hey, it's like everything else in the art, right, man? It's purely a subjective thing. And if you didn't find that his writing has worked for you, that's great. I mean, I look at it and I think, actually, no, I think he's done pretty well lately. But we'll see. Again, I don't even know that I believe he'll actually end up writing this movie the way things go at Lucasfilm. So it might all be moot anyway. All right, what's next?
All right. Well, Jay Bling is inquiring regarding John Wick, Chapter 4. Is it safe to say that you dipped your wick all the way into that movie?
It is a movie worth dipping your wick into. It's absolutely fantastic. All right, what's next?
All right. Joey writes, hi, John. This week's South Park episode was so funny. Cartman opened a restaurant called Dickenbaus Hot Dogs.
Yeah.
Also, the 4-hour, 20-minute Lord of the Rings Return of the King also is coming to theaters in April 13th and
Oh,
19th.
wow.
Oh, so the extended version. Cool. I'm going on the 19th, first time in theaters.
Dude, there's something special about watching Lord of the Rings. This happened a lot during the pandemic. A lot of people's like, I'd never seen Lord of either. Number one, I'd never seen Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Actually, a lot of people have said they've never seen Godfather and watched Godfather for the first time during the pandemic. If you're looking for silver linings in the pandemic, it's that a lot of people stuck at home got to discover some great movies they never watched. But one of the other big things was people saying that they'd either never watched The Lord of the Rings and then discovered it, or never watched Lord of the Rings in theaters. And that time, you getting to watch The Lord of the Rings on the big screen, because you may have seen Lord of the Rings, but you haven't really seen it until you've seen it on the big screen. And I love the fact that it's revisiting screens a lot more, and the fact that they're putting out the 4+ hour extended thing. I think I might have, if it happens around me, I think I might have to go check that out. All right, what's next?
All right. Sorry, I'm holding back a sneeze. Miguel Zayan writes, hey, John and crew, regarding the Vertigo remake with RDJ, imagine what they could do with that story and plot in a modern setting, with factors that weren't there before, and with RDJ. I'm really on board if it gets greenlit. Should Fincher direct it? Maybe. Thoughts?
I never do X actor or X director doing X thing. Yeah, so Vertigo, one of my favorite Hitchcock films. For those of you who missed it, there's a report that came out that the studio is trying to put together a remake of Vertigo with Robert Downey Jr. starring, and we were just talking about him, Stephen Knight, writing the script for it. It's a fascinating sounding project because the source material is great. Obviously, Robert Downey Jr. is great, although he hasn't had a lot of success. What was the last thing that he had that was a success outside of the MCU? It wasn't The Judge, and it wasn't Dr. Dolittle.
I mean, you'd have to go back to Sherlock, wouldn't
I
you?
mean, yeah, maybe Sherlock. But he could certainly use a hit that is not an MCU film and having Stephen Knight writing it. I mean, it could turn out to be something really, really interesting. All right, what's next?
All right, we got Kopitar Rules 11.
I think we got an LA Kings fan in here.
John, not sure if you're a big fan of the Warriors film, but curious what you thought of John Wick Chapter 4 paying homage to it towards the end of the film.
Here's the funny thing. When you go through John Wick 4, and again, I'm not going to say anything or give any specific details for anybody who hasn't seen the film yet. But as you go through the film, you will point out and recognize several big homages to several films going through it. Again, I'm not going to give any specific details or when they happen and what they might be. But if you're a little bit of a film buff, as you go through John Wick 4, you will clearly be able to identify several big things that are homages to other movies that I thought were really, really well placed. I really liked those. All right, what's next?
All right, Tiago Cruz writes, there's a Star Wars project being shot right now on multiple locations on the island of Madeira, Portugal. It's been reported on multiple credible news sources. They usually don't go that far to shoot series. So could it be an unannounced movie?
No, there's no way they could be shooting a movie and not and have all the trades not know about it. Anything like that. It's just not possible. What it's more likely, it's more likely either Ahsoka, The Acolyte, one of those things. What's that?
No, I'm saying,
yeah, it's probably one of those. If the reports are true, which I don't know if they're true or not, but if it's true and there is something shooting there, it's more likely that it's one of those things. But I mean, I don't know that for fact. I'm just saying that's the more likelihood. All right, what's next?
Oddly enough, the island looks just like Tatooine.
It's just all desert.
All right. Anonymous writes, sorry that I keep turning this into the John Campea MMA.
I never mind.
Who's your pick in the Izzy versus
Oh, God.
Pereira rematch?
Yeah.
Obviously, Izzy looked better during the fight, all three fights actually, but Alex had beaten him 3 times already. Does Alex have his number?
I did not believe he could beat Stylebender in their last fight to win the title. I mean, I know he had beat him previously, but like you said, Stylebender basically was the better fighter. The other times they fought, Stylebender, Izzy was the better fighter. And both times, Pierre found a way to come out. And then he got the upper hand that last fight. Listen, it's a coin toss to me. You're right. Izzy is the better fighter. But you're right. This dude just seems to have his number. So I would not put any money on this fight one way or the other, to be honest with you.
He hurt him early in that fight too, right?
He did. Yeah.
just didn't-
It was like the other fights. He looked good early. He looked like Izzy was going to cruise to a win. And then he didn't. So, I mean, I don't know, man. I have no idea what's going to happen. I won't be surprised either way. All right, what's next?
All right. Nicolas Cage writes, whoops, forgot to put my name on the Izzy Pereira message.
No word?
Anyway, do you think any of the top 3 middleweights, Alex, Izzy, Whitaker, can beat Khamzat?
No.
Whitaker probably has the best shot. I want to see Khamzat versus Bo Nickal. That kid, Bo, is something special.
Okay, but let's pump the brakes on the Bo Nickel thing. Like, yes, that kid, Bo Nickel, is going to be a problem. He is going to be a problem for a lot of people. But he just had his first UFC fight. Let's pump the brakes. Like, I'm excited. I'm excited to watch him continue. But let's pump the brakes on putting him in either title contention or contender contention just yet, or having it. Look, honestly, I think anybody who has the best chance against him, because I think Kaz beats all of them. I think Whitaker's style has the best chance, though. I think Whitaker's style has the best chance. But again, Bo Nickel needs a few more fights against non-top 10 ranked, non-top 10, 15 ranked opponents first to start to see what he's really like. Because again, before we get too carried away, he's had one fight. So let's see how that goes. All right, what's next?
Stephanie P. writes, hi, John. Speaking of Apple TV Plus, my husband and I subscribed recently and are really impressed by their content. We have yet to find a show we don't like. Special mention, Pachinko, a stunning trilingual Korean drama with jaw-dropping cinematography.
I've heard several people talking about that show. I've not checked it out myself, but I've heard a lot of people talk about it, and apparently it's quite good. Listen, I fully admit, too, that when they announced that they were launching Apple TV Plus, I still remember the day they did their big presentation. And they had Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon come out talk about, we're doing something called The Morning Show. And Jason Momoa came out, we're doing this thing called C. And I remember this presentation was awful. It was an awful presentation and boring. And I thought, well, I have no excitement for this whatsoever. But I'll tell you what, man, they have delivered. Apple TV Plus has delivered the goods, and they're making some really, really good stuff. And I'm telling you, 5 years from now, they're going to be one of the top 2 or 3 best streamers or biggest streamers. We'll see.
I think even there, it has nothing to do with quality of their shows, but the interface itself is one of my
Oh,
favorites.
it's a fabulous interface.
And it's
really
really
good.
intuitive. You can find what you want easily. It's great.
All right, what's next?
All right, Audi Ash writes, hey, John, did you see that a new TMNT video is being developed? Oh, he loves it. Its inspiration is The Last Ronin, and apparently it's being made in the same style as God of War. Should be the more adult and gory TMNT we have all been waiting for. What are your thoughts?
Ray, weren't you just talking to me about this in the car on the way to the office today?
The
Teenage Mutant Ninja.
Yeah.
I was thinking Power Rangers. You were talking to me about a Power Rangers thing.
Rangers,
Oh, no, bring that question up again.
Sure.
My brain went on to Power Rangers.
So the new video is being...
A video or a video game?
Being developed. Its inspiration is The Last Ronin. Apparently it's being made in the same style as God of War. Oh, so it must be a game.
Okay, it must
Should
be a
more
video
adult and
game. Oh, hey, listen. Anything that gets the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles back to their real Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is their origins are in the old black and white. Not this bullshit, cowabunga, skateboarding, let's eat some pizza, dude, whatever these abominations are. But the real Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from the original black and white comics, anything, video game, comic, movie, TV show, animated show, whatever gets us closest back to that, I will be excited about. So if there is a game like that coming out, I will be very excited to check it out. All right, what's next?
When they sling the pizzas, it decapitates them. All right, Thomas BDL writes, hi, team. I was really hyped for the trailer for Tetris, so I kept a close eye on the reviews, and I'm thrilled to say they've been pretty great. So far, it's sitting at a solid 80% for 41 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, and some called it one of Egerton's best roles yet.
I still, oddly enough, everybody will say Kingsman. I think his best role is as Eddie the Eagle.
I love it. I love that movie.
I legitimately think his performance in that movie is outstanding. But yeah, I love like things like The Social Network. You take this thing that we all know and think pretty mundanely of. In The Social Network was Facebook, the game Tetris, to find out there was this big drama behind it. There's a big story behind it. And I thought like everybody else, the idea of a Tetris movie, that sounds stupid. But then the trailer dropped and I'm like, I've got to watch this. I have totally got to watch it. I can't wait to see it.
And on Apple TV.
And on Apple TV. All right, what's next?
All right, we've got Quantum of Zen, who writes, Fast X will end with Godzilla and Kong challenging the game to race for control of Monster Island. But in number 11, they will all team up to defuse an antimatter weapon invented by Dom's long-lost third cousin, twice removed, in-laws, pet chinchilla.
Yeah, we were talking the other day. Michelle Rodriguez. We talked about this story on the show yesterday. Michelle Rodriguez, of course, star of one of the Fast and Furious. She's also in Dungeons and Dragons, which you must go see her in. She talked about that Fast 10 has a huge surprise ending that will leave everybody with their jaws open, going, "What had they just done? Oh my God!" And I'm thinking, what can you possibly do in a Fast and the Furious movie? The thing that we've just come to expect you to do in the most stupid and ridiculous things, even in the really good ones. I'm like, what can you possibly do at it that's going to have everybody's jaw? The only thing that will literally shock me at the end of Fast 10, the only thing they can do that would shock me, you could have Superman show up and I won't be shocked in a Fast and Furious movie. The only thing they can possibly do that would shock me at the end of Fast 10 is if Dominic Toretto dies. And I mean, head severed from his shoulders, no ambiguity, actually dead, not MCU dead, actually dead. If they killed the Dominic character, that is the only thing that would completely and utterly stun me.
Would it completely and utterly stun you if at the end of Fast X, Dominic Toretto has a full head of hair like Keanu Reeves in John Wick?
That would also be, he drove so fast, he drifted so hard, that hair grew on his head. Like that would do it.
Did you actually answer, Taylor?
Ray, I'm always telling you, John, just don't answer Taylor.
The thing is, though, in part 11, they reattach his head.
They reattach his head.
Something
they're
fierce.
reconnecting. All right, what's next?
Garden Variety. This is our last one here. Garden Variety Vagabond writes, not a spoiler. I felt that you missed one more poor writing piece for The Mandalorian. Shouldn't they have had a less chaotic training grounds as a soldier, or heck, anyone who watched The Gladiator? You would have expected more organization.
Mandalorians don't need organization. We're a tough, rough bunch. We just find a patch of land and we start fighting. I don't think that was... Listen, there's some great stuff, I think, in the last episode of The Mandalorian. There was also some pretty dumb stuff, and I've already covered that quite well. And some that's like really bad writings, like, it always gets away. Then why were you chasing it if it always gets away? Why don't you... Anyway. I don't know that would be I don't know that I would agree that that's one of the examples of bad writing, though, to be honest with you. But that's just my own perspective. All right, guys. And that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making this show part of your day. Hey, if you had sent in some questions, maybe they just came in late before, we got rolling here. Don't worry, those questions aren't missing or gone. We'll get to those in our very next video. So thank you for that, guys. And thanks to all of you for being here and making this show part of your day and a part of your week, because we're at Friday. I hope all you guys have a fantastic weekend ahead of you, filled with fun, relaxation, whatever it is you need to recharge your batteries this weekend, coming back for another week of triumph and victory that you have laying ahead of you next week. Big special thank you to all you guys who did send in those tip questions. Number one, because it gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported our channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. So, for everybody in the room, Ray Ora, running the show, Jonathan Voico, Taylor Gonzalez, my name's John Campea. Thanks a lot for being here, guys. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.